This documentary video was produced by Harmaya University, School of Agribusiness and Agricultural Economics. It was sponsored by Akshay Pilot Project. The purpose of the documentary video is to supplement the syllabus of the module prepared for the course Advanced Agricultural Marketing and Price Analysis. The course is being offered at Harmaya University and Mo University for master's degree students in agricultural economics. The video demonstrates the complex activities carried out at all stages along the market chain in bringing coffee from its point of production to the final domestic consumers and to the point of export. It is hoped that the video text clearly demonstrates what coffee marketing is generally like in the context of Ethiopia. Ethiopian coffee. Ethiopia is the original homeland and the center of the genetic diversity of the plant of coffee arabica. Coffee is the first and most principal export crop of Ethiopia. The country is the sixth top producer and exporter of coffee in the world, next to Brazil, Vietnam, Colombia, Indonesia, and Peru, and it is the first and top exporter in Africa. Of supreme importance is the fact that coffee covers more than 60% of the country's foreign exchange earnings. Ethiopian coffee is generally known as highland coffee by its consumers. It has a great deal to offer in such qualities as gourmand, specialty, and organicness. Moreover, Ethiopian coffee is rich in acidity and larger in body size. It possesses an aromatic and sweet flavor. It's winey, spicy, and has the world's famous mocha flavor. No surprise, thus, the Ethiopian coffee is perhaps the most prized species by experts around the world. The Ethiopia's coffee is almost exclusively of the Arabica type. This species grows best at altitudes between 1,000 and 2,000 meters above sea level. In general, coffee grows wild in many parts of the country. Nevertheless, extensive production of coffee is limited to the southern and western Ethiopia, mainly in Kaffa, Sidamo, Ilubabor, Gamogofa, Wallagga, and Hararge regions. Currently, over 700,000 hectares of land is covered by coffee plantation. Annual production is estimated at about 350,000 tons. As a principal crop to the Ethiopian economy, coffee requires better organized market as compared to other agricultural crops. To fulfill this requirement, standardization and grading, better quality maintenance, better packaging, processing techniques, and other essential measures are taking place in the country. The different coffee varieties produced in the country have received their brands or names from the respective areas of cultivation, as geography is the dominant determinant of variety. Some of the famous varieties of coffee are Harar, Yirga Cafe, Sidamo, Babbaka and Tepi coffee, Limmo, Jimma, and Wallagga. These varieties differ in their acidity, body size, color, flavor, and aroma. Each variety has unique qualities that makes it highly demanded on the international market. Now, let us move on to describing the nature of producing, harvesting, and processing coffee in Ethiopia. There are four types of production system in Ethiopia. These are forest coffee, semi-forest coffee, garden coffee, and plantation coffee. It is estimated that 95% of the coffee produced under these production systems is purely organic. To improve the production, productivity, and the quality of coffee in Ethiopia, various government and non-government organizations are supporting the sector in different ways. For instance, the Ethiopian Agricultural Research Organization, AERO, is responsible for coffee landrace development, collection and classification of indigenous coffee types, and for providing other technical supports to coffee plantation. On its part, the Ministry of Agriculture provides extension services in the production, harvesting, and processing of coffee. In addition, the Ministry of Agriculture supervises the quality of coffee products. The other important duty of the Ministry of Agriculture is multiplying improved and disease-resistant coffee varieties developed by research institutions and distributing the seedlings of the improved varieties to farmers for plantation. The other important institution that's playing a crucial role is the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange, established in 2008. The primary goal of the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange is promoting the commercialization of major agricultural commodities such as grains, pulses, oilseeds, and coffee. In its wider sense, a commodity exchange is any organized marketplace where trade is tunneled through a single and well-defined mechanism. Since the establishment of Ethiopian Commodity Exchange, almost the entire coffee marketing activities are carried out under close supervision, control, and support of Ethiopian Commodity Exchange. Marketing activities such as handling, storing, buying, and selling, grading, and standardizing, and inspecting quality are facilitated and monitored by Ethiopian Commodity Exchange. The Cooperative Promotion Bureau, on its part, organizes, promotes, and supports the activities of coffee marketing cooperatives. Several primary cooperatives participate in the marketing of coffee. These primary cooperatives have formed higher-level cooperatives called cooperative unions. These cooperatives supply coffee to the domestic and export markets through their cooperative unions. In addition to these institutions, the financial institutions in the country like Cooperative Banks, Commercial Bank of Ethiopia play a vital role through financing the coffee marketing. Another organization that has been playing a significantly important role is the Ethiopian Radio and the Television Agency. This organization's major role is disseminating market and financial news. On its part, the Ministry of Trade and Finance promotes and facilitates the coffee trading activities. Finally, non-government institutions are also directly and indirectly involved in the general commodity and coffee marketing. So far, we have grasped some points about the principal reality of coffee production in Ethiopia. Now, let's take a look at the condition of harvesting. In Ethiopia, coffee harvesting is exclusively done by hand picking. The time of flowering determines the maturation time of coffee fruits. In coffee plantations, flowering does not usually occur all at a time. Neither does the maturation of the coffee fruits. On the whole, harvesting time plays a crucial role in the production of quality coffee. Because of this, Farmers are usually advised to selectively harvest the red and the fully ripe cherries, as this would have good impact on the next stage of processing and on the ultimate quality of the coffee beans. In contrast, harvesting green and black or overripened cherries mixed with the red ones poses difficulty in pulping and hulling the coffee. In general, untimely harvesting of coffee causes severe damage to the quality of coffee. Once the red cherries are collected at farm level, farmers can either sell the red cherries immediately to traders, or they can keep them dry and sell the dried coffee berries later. In the past, the farmers used to sell the red cherries or the dried coffee berries to local collectors, who sometimes were agents of traders or independent small traders acting as middlemen between suppliers and the farmers. Nevertheless, following the introduction of Ethiopian Commodity Exchange in 2008, farmers are supposed to sell their products directly to traders who are suppliers to Ethiopian Commodity Exchange's auction market. For this purpose, the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange has established 3 to 5 collecting centers in each coffee producing district to enable all traders to openly buy coffee directly from the producers. The system was put in place to achieve 3 important goals. These are: 1. To prevent cheating by traders or farmers in weighing the coffee. 2. To improve the market by creating conducive environment for competition among traders. 3. To supervise and control the quality of the coffee. However, both farmers and the traders seem to have found the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange's new approach inconvenient. During our field trips, we were unable to find the stated marketing practice. Therefore, we like to underline at this point that absence of such operating centers poses a serious question why those collection centers are not functional. We can only speculate the reasons at this stage. One of the possible reasons is that traders may not want to compete openly, or they want to minimize the transportation costs and the associated inconveniences in transporting what have been purchased at collecting center to the processing plants. The other speculation one can make is that farmers may have found it inconvenient to bring their productions to these centers. Hence, we recommend that in-depth empirical studies need to be conducted to explain why these collecting centers are not functioning in proper way. Our early observations suggest that farmers have 2 options for selling their product. They can take their coffee to a private trader, or in places where there are cooperatives, they take it to their primary cooperatives. Perhaps the farmers search for price information before they decide to bring their productions to a trader. In some cases, they accept the price preset by their claimed traders. Our field trips also strongly suggested that in order to create continuous supply and attract producers, local traders try to assist producers in various ways. For instance, traders provide loans for purchasing inputs and sometimes even for covering their consumptions and other emergency expenditures. In addition, they hire their family members as daily laborers to operate the coffee processing machines. In general, traders make an effort to establish formal or informal long-term relationship with producers in their localities. Apart from the actions taken by traders to attract coffee growers, farmers themselves make their own assessments before they decide to sell their products to a particular trader. To identify a trader who offers better price and who reliably weighs their produce, they try to search information from their neighbors as well as through direct observation. One can notice from this that the decision of coffee growers to supply their productions to a particular trader is governed by many factors. Proximity to a given processing center, relational contract established in the past, or the interest of the farmer to establish such relationships with a particular trader in the future, the loyalty level of the trader, the price offered, the nature of competition among traders, the presence of other alternatives such as cooperatives appear to be the principal factors that govern the decision of the farmer. For us, this is another complex problem that needs thorough study. Apart from private traders, farmers also sell their products to their own primary cooperatives. Our field trips revealed that the nature of cooperatives and the coffee markets. In areas where there are coffee marketing cooperatives, members and some non-members supply their coffee productions to the cooperatives. Some cooperatives, however, seem to be less efficient compared to competing individual traders around them. This is indicative of the presence of many effective traders and coffee processing centers within the boundaries of the cooperatives. Despite the high potential for extra benefits a member could gain from participating in the cooperatives by selling his or her productions, a number of farmers still choose to sell their produce to their client traders. The national policy treats cooperatives preferentially in its cooperative proclamation. Some identified cooperatives have also the right to directly export without passing through the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange. The assumption is that through their unions, cooperatives are expected to directly export coffee to foreign markets. There is a belief that this system would enable the cooperatives to absorb marketing margins that could otherwise have been absorbed by traders and the middlemen. In principle, cooperatives have far-reaching benefits for their member farmers. They protect their members from traders' different acts of dishonesty, like deliberate underweighing and the degrading of quality. In addition, they offer better prices, provide credits for inputs, and by doing so, enable the farmers to share the profit in the form of dividend, according to the importance and the quality of their participation in supplying coffee to the cooperative. They also provide as a social services to community. Undeniably, in countries like Ethiopia, cooperatives contribute not only in improving the living standard of small-scale farmers, but also in developing an efficient agricultural product and input markets. In reality, however, only few cooperatives succeed in competing with the neighboring competing traders. Thus, we recommend that critical exploration need to be made on the following three important issues. One is the fundamental reason why farmers still choose to sell their productions to traders. The other is the extent to which cooperatives are efficient in coffee marketing. The third is the complex factors that determine effective operations and marketing opportunities. We believe that all of these are important areas of research. Now, let us move on to the issue of coffee processing practices in Ethiopia. Once the producers sell the dried or red coffee cherries, the traders perform various marketing functions before they transport the processed coffee to the warehouse of the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange. There are two types of coffee processing carried out by traders or cooperatives. These are dry coffee processing and wet coffee processing. Let us deal with dry coffee processing. This can also be called drying at farmers' level. This type of processing is mainly used in places like eastern regions, where scarcity of water constrains processing through washing. It is a technique of processing the dry cherry. Let us discuss in detail the features of this processing strategy. First, the red cherries are collected by the producers. Please see the harvested red cherries on the screen. Next, the producers dry the red cherries by exposing them to sun. Usually, a traditional plate placed over locally made slab is used. The coffee cherry is made to desiccate up to about 11.5%. This facilitates the next step, that is, the removal by hulling of the outer layers. This process of drying may take from 3 to 4 weeks. In cloudy weather and hazy conditions, it usually takes more weeks. Eventually, the farmer sells the dry cherry to the traders. When they are in its desiccated form, it's difficult to judge both its quality and the proportion of normal coffee seeds. Due to this reason, traders take a handful of sample from the sack and test it by crushing with their teeth before they deal with the producer on its price. They do this to check whether the coffee seeds are dried to the required level, the proportion of defective seeds, and the total pure seeds they expect to get from it after processing. In general, coffee crushing with teeth is done to assess the overall quality and the productivity of the dried cherry. In addition, the traders use the intuition developed over years of experience to estimate the amount of pure coffee seeds they could obtain from a sack of cherries. Particularly, once they have identified the area of origin or the type, as we saw earlier, then they can easily estimate its productivity. After they have brought coffee from the farmers, traders further dry it up before it gets into the hulling machine. Since the farmers usually share their coffee with the moisture content above the optimum moisture, that is 11.5%, sometimes with intention to increase its weight, further processing becomes unavoidable. Traders usually use cemented flour, displayed in the screen, to expose the products to sunshine. After the cherry has become sufficiently dry, it enters the huller machine. This is the huller machine. Look at what the coffee hulling machine does. Chiefly, the machine peels the coffee covers of the coffee beans. Naturally, coffee cherry has 5 layers. These are the outer skin, a thin layer of pulp, the parenchyma, that is the parchment, and the silver skin. The hulling machine removes the entire outer layers except the silver skin from the coffee bean. In this process, the full-sized coffee beans are sorted out through a separate outlet. The broken, small-sized, and the shrunk beans come out in a different outlet. The unwanted covers are forced out through a different outlet. 3 categories result from this crushing process. 1. Full-size and normal coffee beans, which are sorted out in one of the tunnels in the machine. 2. The undersized, broken, unhealthy coffee beans, which are sorted in another tunnel. And 3rd, the removed outer covers. The basic outputs of successful hulling are dry beans of reasonable and even size. But the hulled coffee bean could still have moisture, and some might still be undersized, oversized, broken, infected, or defective. Some foreign materials and unhealthy coffee beans might slip through the machine and mix with the normal coffee beans. Coffee beans with abnormal size and the color are removed by setting it up on the air. But unwanted coffee beans and other foreign materials still need to be removed or sorted watchfully by hand picking. Despite all these purifying processes or activities, the hulled coffee beans must still undergo a process of drying. This is to further desiccate the hulled beans to fully expel the moisture. In addition, more sorting is required to screen out the pure, normal-sized and the good color coffee beans from others. Though it rarely happens, some of the coffee beans might also be attacked by coffee berry disease. This disease seriously damages the taste and other qualities of coffee. To maintain the quality, coffee beans attacked by the disease must also be meticulously kept out. In addition, if the cherry was dried while it was green, the coffee bean will have black color. Shown here are two types of defective coffee beans. On the left side is the one infected by coffee berry disease, and on the right side is green cherry. All of these abnormalities must be dealt with. Finally, the coffee, before it is packed and transported to the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange, still has to undergo further processing to remove the remaining silver coat. Then, the pure coffee is packed in 60 kilograms in a special sack prepared only for coffee. The above series of steps generally indicate that the trader has to perform various processing activities before they get pure export standard coffee. In general, they undertake peeling, drying, cleaning, sorting and other activities before they transport the product to the warehouse of the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange. Generally, there are about 600 coffee huller machines in the country. These machines are usually owned and operated by private companies who are themselves supplier traders. Only a few number of huller machines are run by cooperatives. It is these traders and the cooperatives that directly supply the products to the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange. Having described the nature of dry processing of coffee products, let us now move on to describing what wet processing is like. Wet processing is the process of removing the outer cover and the mucilage from the coffee bean until the bean remains with the hard cover or the parchment. The process is also referred to as pulping. It is a well-known fact that top quality coffee is produced only from fully ripe and fresh coffee cherries. In light of this, farmers are always advised to collect coffee beans when they are fresh and ripe. This simply means that harvesting must be done carefully. In practice, however, farmers pick fully ripe, unripe, and overripe berries together. For many reasons, traders may buy mixed cherries. In such conditions, the unfit cherries, that is, overripe, undersized, rotten, or unripe, should be sorted out before the cherries enter into the pulping machine. One should note that all of these activities are done the same day the coffee is harvested. The pulping process involves several steps. First, the sorted red cherries are put onto the funnel and pushed into the grinding machine by water pressure. Then, the pulping machine removes the outer cover from the cherries as it passes through the machine. At this stage, the parchment and the silver skin are still with the pulped coffee. After this, the machine sorts the pulped wet coffee into 3 quality levels based on their density. Each level is then pushed into a separate tank and allowed to ferment for 48 to 72 hours, depending upon the temperature. It should be noted that this fermentation process requires scrupulous supervision to avoid under or over fermentation. After it is sufficiently fermented, the wet parchment coffee is washed in flooding clean running water. The purpose of flood washing is to remove the mucilage and acid jellies found between the outer cover and the parchment. Following this, it is again soaked and washed in clean water. The aim of this subsequent washing is to help remove the remaining mucilage and acids from the parchment. It also helps to screen out the lighter, undersized, underfermented, broken or unwanted beans from the normal pure coffee beans. It is this intensive and painstaking process of pulping that provides the coffee bean good color and quality aroma. Then, each glass of washed parchment coffee is separately stretched out for some time on a wire mesh and allowed to lose the water before it is taken to the drying table. After that, it is taken to drying bed and made to dry by exposing it to the sun for some hours on daily basis. To prevent the parchment from cracking and shattering, it is covered by plastic sheet until it is re-exposed to sunlight the next day. This process continues until the parchment coffee bean dries up to 11.5% of its moisture content. One should note that the wet parchment coffee is highly sensitive to color and smell, especially during the first 3 to 4 days of its pulping. It easily absorbs whatever color and odor in its vicinity. Therefore, much care should be taken to keep the wet parchment coffee away from materials that have color difference from its normal color, which is light yellowish brown. In addition, the coffee could take the odor of a material it was in or the color of any material in its vicinity in the first 3 days of pulping. Because of this, it could lose its natural aroma. In general, unwanted colors and odorous materials such as perfume and benzene must be kept away from coffee. In addition, materials used at all stages of pulping need to have a color more or less similar to the desired color of the coffee. Along with drying, repeated hand sorting are made until unwanted coffee beans and foreign materials are sorted out and until only pure parchment coffee bean remains. Finally, only fully dried coffee parchment with the required color and size will be packed in 60 kilograms with a sack prepared exclusively for coffee. Then, it is stored and handled until it is transported to the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange warehouse. Coffee suppliers can supply to the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange warehouse only with this sack. This is because coffee easily absorbs the color and the odor of the sack. It is important to note, therefore, that using other common sacks could harm the overall quality of coffee. Since consumers usually prefer wet processed coffee to the dry processed ones, Ethiopia intends to increase the quantity of this commodity. There are already over 708 wet processing units in the country. However, most of these plants are owned by private companies which are at the same time suppliers or traders. Only some of them are owned by cooperatives and state enterprises. Since this processing requires much water, we largely find these plants in water-rich southern and western part of the country. Let us see now the new developments and the structural changes made in the coffee marketing since the establishment of the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange. The following are some of the major structural changes made in the coffee marketing. Brokers and the commission agents linking producers or farmers with wholesalers or suppliers have officially been excluded from the market. A new Centralized and the modern auction system has been introduced to facilitate buying and selling activities between suppliers and exporters or domestic wholesalers. New warehousing system has been established in major coffee producing areas so that traders can supply coffee only through the warehouse of the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange. In addition to the existing grading and the standardization systems, a new grading, standardization, and inspection systems have been introduced at the warehouse of the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange. Informal brokers that link suppliers with traders and facilitate negotiation have been replaced by formal commission agents that allow agents to bid on behalf of their supplier clients at the central auction floor. Data regarding the variety, grade levels, and the amount of coffee supplied by each trader to the warehouses of the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange is fed into the central auction floor at Addis Ababa. Coffee supply to both the domestic and export markets facilitates via the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange. Therefore, no trader is allowed to sidestep this organization in supplying coffee. Let us now see the auction system introduced by the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange. The Ethiopian Commodity Exchange operates using modern information and communication technology. Its functions can be essentially categorized into the following 5 phases. Sellers place offers and the buyers place bids at a nearby terminal center or directly at the central trading floor. To do this, buyers are expected to deposit the amount of money bidded in selected clearing banks, while sellers have to store the supplies offered in the closest warehouse in exchange of a receipt. At the warehouse level, the quality, safety, and the volume of supplies received will be systematically graded and recorded. Offers and the bids are transmitted and stored in a central database, screened in chronological order and matched only when identical. When offers and the bids match, a clearing message is transmitted to the bank where the buyer deposited the funds. Then the bank simultaneously releases funds to the seller and the receiver to the buyer to reduce delivery risk. Finally, the price of the completed transaction is transmitted and publicly displayed in 200 waradas of Ethiopian municipalities. The Ethiopian Commodity Exchange displays price information in a number of coffee producing areas so that producers and traders are kept aware of the current price information. After they have bought coffee from the auction floor of the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange, exporters make further sorting and handling to improve its quality. After they have made their own sorting, drying, and other quality maintenance activities, they separately pack the coffee they believe meets the export quality before they claim for export certificate. A standard coffee exported to Arab countries is packed in 50 kilograms, while that exported to the rest of the world is packed in 60 kilograms. Once they have packed the coffee in a required weight, exporters claim for export. The export certificate is issued by Coffee Quality Inspection and Insurance Center. The center undertakes its own assessments before it awards export certificate. The certificate bears the whole story of the coffee to be exported. The export certificate looks like this. A question of great importance is how does Coffee Quality Inspection and Insurance Center assess quality indicators? Let us see the center's grading and quality assessment techniques and the criteria. First, a sample of 300 grams of coffee bean is taken from each sack and mixed together. In other words, a sample of 3 kilograms of coffee is taken from 10 quintals of coffee. Then, the sample is sent to the inspector with a code number. The inspector also assigns a different code and sends it to coffee testers. The experts then draw a sample of 300 grams of coffee bean from the mixed 3 kilograms of coffee. After this, the sample will be evaluated for 2 major attributes or qualities. These are raw quality and cup quality. To assess the raw quality, defective beans and foreign materials will be detected and counted separately. The defect level are calculated by counting the number of broken, small-sized, decayed, and abnormal beans and other foreign materials such as stone and sand. Next to this, the number of defective beans and the foreign materials are counted and the points are assigned for each type of defects on the basis of the pre-specified criteria. Then, the points are summed up and deducted from 40 to arrive at total points for raw quality. Again, another 300 grams of coffee is drawn from the same sample for testing the coffee's cup quality. The sample is roasted, milled, and boiled with predetermined amount of water. Then it's filled into 8 different cups and will be made ready for testing. The coffee tester takes one spoon from each of the cups and tests the quality. Then the expert assigns grade points for flavor, acidity, and cup cleanness. Together with the body size of the coffee beans, the tester gives grade points out of the total 60 points assigned for cup quality. Finally, the 2 grade points are summed up and a total grade point is given. The following worksheet is used by Dreddawa Coffee Quality Inspection and Standardization Center to determine the grade. Look at the criteria. To determine the grade level of a given coffee under consideration, defect points are calculated for each of the above 5 criteria. The qualities against which a coffee sample is measured are odor, cup cleanness, acidity, body, and flavor or character of the coffee. It should be noted here that the cleanness and the flavor of coffee are the most decisive factors for grading, whereas musty, earthy, yellow, hardish, and foul are notorious cup defects. After that, the coded grade sheet is sent to the certifying body and decoded. Finally, an inspection certificate that contains the grade level with summary results on each of the criteria is issued. If the grade points satisfy the export standard, export clearing certificate is offered to the exporter. However, before coffee leaves Addis Ababa or Dreddawa for Djibouti, the United States, or Europe, it's checked by Coffee and Tea Authority inspectors to ensure that Ethiopian exporters usually export the type of coffee precisely described on the export clearing certificate. After clearance from the Coffee and the Tea Authority inspectors, the commodity is transported to Djibouti port by truck and then shipped to different international markets in countries like USA, Japan, Europe, and the Middle East. Let's look at what local market looks like. The coffee that does not satisfy the export standard is sold at the local market. Of the total annual production of coffee, 40 to 45% is consumed domestically, while the remaining is supplied to the export market. The local market has many channels. Wholesalers buy coffee from the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange on auction and in turn supply it to retailers and the coffee roasters. On their part, retailers sell raw coffee to various final users such as coffee houses, restaurants, households, and consumers. Let's have a look at what coffee roasters are like. The company you see here on the screen is one of the coffee roasting private companies. The company buys lower grade coffee from the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange and sorts unwanted coffee beans before roasting it. After it is sorted, the coffee is roasted with roasting machine. The roasted coffee bean is then milled with milling machine. The milled coffee is packed with a labeled bag containing the brand name, the net weight, and the dates. The company distributes the packed commodity to retailers, restaurants, and coffee houses. In Ethiopia, coffee prices have exhibited high inter-year variations from season to season. Price variations are affected by complex local factors that determine supply and by the periodic trends of the global coffee markets that determine international demand and the supply dynamics. In Ethiopia, from among the well-known coffee varieties, the Irgacafe and the Sidama varieties generally enjoy a considerable premium on the international markets.